going to pull a little Bing aerial in geo-referenced coordinates. So I'm just going to start just a kind of blank drawing, this AutoCAD, DWT, do the F7 to turn the grid off on that thing. Check the units and make sure we're in decimal, and we're going to change this to feet, and all that's okay. Okay, we're going to bring one of the Corps of Engineers 2013 Hydrographic navigation book drawings into this drawing as an XREF so that we can look at the longitude and latitudes that we're dealing with. So if we go to Google Earth, we can, let's just zoom in on the New Orleans area. So I have these Google overlays. You can see this yellowish box here and this 100, well, yeah, that's the mile point. Let's see. Let's look over here. It might be easier to pull one of these. Yeah, so this is sheet number 54. This is the mile point 80. So there's a couple Google Earth overlays involved here. One is this Lower Mississippi River mile points, and that's going to be these little white points right there. You'll see those turn off and on. So one thing that's in there is it shows where the bigger mile points are, like this mile point 80, and it also references what the Corps of Engineers says is the high water elevation for that zone in that mile point area. So every now and then, like it's not on every one, like down here at mile point 70 it's 14, and if I go up here to mile point 80 it's 16. So that is in this Lower Mississippi River mile points. Another one is this Corps of Engineers charts, and you'll see the yellow and the big orange boxes and the yellow stripes disappear. That's the one that tells us what sheet, what Corps of Engineers sheet we need to go look for. So those are nice. The other thing is you'll see these blue outlines, and that's the Mississippi River revetment, which is this one right here. You see that turns off and on. So you can kind of see this is the Poydras revetment, it says right there. If we go down river a little bit, we see the Belle Chase revetment is on this side, and the Scarsdale revetment is over here. So it's nice to know if somebody says I'm at mile point 81 and I want to put a facility on the left descending bank, on the west bank, there's revetment there, whereas on the east bank there is no revetment. You can just check real quick whether there's revetment with that. So those three drawings are actually in here, which is Y:(reference USACE New Orleans District, and then there's a JEJMS River KMZ files, and it's actually these river mile point, the core chart, and the lower revetment. So if you wanted to put those into your Google Earth and have them there all the time, that's fine. You can just have them in there, turn them off and on as you need it. There's a few other ones in here. There's the Lower Mississippi River anchorages. There's a lot of permitting constraints where you have an anchorage, so you kind of want to know where those are. And then there's river crossings also, and that's areas that the Corps of Engineers has range lights, and they typically need to dredge a channel in the Mississippi River because it silts in, and they can't maintain 40-45 foot drafts, whatever they're trying to maintain. So the three that you're going to see on the Google Earth image right now are the mile points, the core charts, so you can see what charts are, and Mississippi lower revetment. So if I go back over here, you will see that if I had something I needed to do and bring an aerial up behind this, it's going to be number 54. So I'm going to go back to Autodesk, and I'm just going to do, after I've already set the units, I'll do XREF and pull in. I have it defaulted. I have a couple different things I use all the time, so I have it over here. And this is actually under Y:(reference USACE New Orleans District Mississippi River Navigation 2013 Hydrographic Survey Book. I have that historically set over here. and we said we wanted to look for number 54. So I'm going to roll this down till I get 54, and we'll pull that in. Make sure I got all of this set right. I'm inserting it at 0, 0 with 1 XYZ scale, units of feet. And we'll do relative path, even though that doesn't matter here. So if I zoom extents, I get that sheet. Now the nice thing about this sheet is it has these latitude and longitude values. So at the intersection of this one and that one, which is right here, I'll put a little circle from here so I can grab it. I know the longitude and latitude of that point. It's also, these drawings are geo-referenced to NAD 83 in feet. So if I ID a point anywhere on here, I get the 3,400,000 number that is the easting northing, or the XY, of the exact point that correlates between the lat long and the NAD 83 grid. So there's a nice little feature in AutoCAD starting in 2017. I think we're running 2018 here, where if you do a Geographic Location, that's this command right here, it says set the location from, and we're going to do it from a map. And it pulls up a little search bar here. And what I want to put in is the latitude, longitude of a known spot. So because of the Corps of Engineers, I know that this longitude, latitude, longitude is that. So I put the latitude in, the smaller number in first. 29D for degrees, and then 52 minutes, comma. Now the longitude, because it's west of Greenwich 0, is negative 89 in this case. Negative 89D for degrees and 52 minutes. And if I hit the little search up here, it actually wants to try to drop a little marker there. So I'm going to say, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Drop the marker there, and let's go next. And it's going to ask me, what sort of geographic projection are we going to be working in? And what the survey guys are telling me we want to look for, and we can type it up here to go search a little bit, is the NSRS. And you can see we have a bunch of choices, meter and foot. We definitely want the foot, and we want the Louisiana South foot. So if you look at this one, it's NSRS. Oh, we want the 11 though. NSRS 11. So let's type that, NSRS 11. It'll sort it out for us as an 07 and 11. And we want this one, which is Louisiana South foot, 6479. That's another way you could search up here. I just typed the NSRS 11 and it usually comes up. And we'll do a next, and it says, okay, where is that point you're talking about? Well, it's at the center of this circle. And then it says, where is north? Is it straight up? No, it's not actually straight up. There's a little bit of a declination. So we're going to touch, that's the other nice thing. It gives us a known latitude, longitude, and also what the northerly direction is. So I'm going to pick that up there. And what that does is it brings in a background, which is actually a Bing image. I can get rid of this right here. In the background. So the kind of weird thing about this is that this is only a visual representation in the drawing. If I go over here, and this is a layout, the paper space view of that window does not show that aerial. See that in there? So the next step you have to do is to say geo map, right? And then you can choose whether you want it to look like an aerial or a road or hybrid. So this is actually aerial. The road looks like this, which has road names. And the one that's really neat is the hybrid geomap. And I'm going to put it on H for hybrid. And what that does is it gives you road names and road symbols that weren't there with the aerial. Okay, we still don't have the background showing in paper space where we want to plot it. So the next step now is to, now that we got our map set the way we want, is to geo map image is the third command. All right, and it says, do you want to take a snapshot of what this aerial looks like? And the easiest thing is just to accept that viewport. And what it does is, if I zoom out a little bit, you'll see that it created a box right here. All right, and if I go back to GeoMap and turn it off, that box now I can play with and drop the corners in the area I want it. And usually we only want to maybe just do a piece of the river like this or something, right? So you don't really want to do much more than you have to, because this ends up making the drawings bigger. Okay, now the nice thing is when I look at my paper space, I actually get a nice map coming in behind my river. And you can pull this out a little bit further if you need to once you get your scale set and everything else, so that whenever you zoom in, you got map behind everything. All right, so that's a nice little feature. So once you get it in there, there's a couple things you can do. One is, if you just double click on the image, you can fade it. And I like to fade it because, let me show you before I fade it what happens. If I say plot, I'll just go to previous here, and I say preview, it's kind of dark. See, the black lines like back up in here aren't showing up too well. You can see how they just kind of disappear in the image. So the first thing I like to do is to go and double click the image and fade it about 50%. Right? And if I preview it then, oh, I didn't save that plotter, sorry. Previous apply, preview. Now I can see the black lines on top of the darker background that is roads and streets. And this is nice a lot of times for the clients. They can they know where these turns in the road are and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's one thing you can do once you get it in there, is double click it and play with some of these things. I just usually mess with the fade. The other thing you can do is to go into properties. So if I touch it and go to properties, you can go and change whether it's the aerial, the road, or the hybrid. So you could come back here and make this do it. What did it do here? Properties, road. There it is. And now it changed it into a different kind of map. It doesn't have the background on it anymore. It's just like a Bing looking map back there. So I mean, typically you don't want that, but if you're doing a vicinity map or something, that's a pretty good little map to use to maybe trace. So I'm going to put that back to hybrid. I like that because it shows like highway names and stuff. The other thing you can do is, this isn't too bad on the resolution. Let's see if I can see some houses or something in here that we can tell. Yeah, like over here. Some houses and stuff in there. So that image isn't too bad, but it's a little bit fuzzy still. So let me zoom in there a little bit, and I'll go to properties. Oh, I'll go to properties on this thing and change it to very fine. And watch what happens to the background. So the houses will get a little clearer back there. Makes the drawings very big to save that, because it's actually kind of taking a snapshot, but it also gives you the ability to modify the snapshot after. So sometimes I will, if I'm going to print it, set that to very fine, like make a PDF of it to send somebody, but when I'm done, I'll set that back to either coarse or optimal so that it's not taking up a lot of space when I'm trying to fly around it and stuff. So it will make a difference on course. Let's see, I think I have it on course now. I'm going to do a preview on that and you'll see it's a little bit different. Not too bad, but the very fine makes a nice plot. All right, so that now is a geo-referenced, so you can pull other stuff into it. Now you could just go in here and get rid of that XREF because you don't really need it for anything anymore unless you needed it for something, but I'm going to detach it. And now you have a nice geo-referenced image to go off of.